Hello everyone, this is Board Game Battles with your host, Mr. Board Game. Today, we will be playing Chaos in the Old World. Now, quick note, this is not a introductory or how to play video. Instead, we'll be going through a more thorough analysis of the game. Included a link below that should show you everything you need to know to get started in the game. With that said, let's get started. Now we're going into the Old World phase. This is kind of like the calm before the storm, and it's really an important phase, more important than people really give it credit for. It can make and break the game for various factions. Okay, electors arise. In this one, looks like 2 noble tokens are being put into 2 separate spots. This is really good for Slaanesh. There's no question about that, but it's not bad for the 2 peaceful factions, Nurgle and Tzeentch. Remember, Nurgle needs victory points. He's not winning through advancement, and Tzeentch can also win in that way. So the victory points granted by these noble tokens can be incredibly useful. And you can mitigate the potential advancement bonuses by placing them in the spot that already has it. They were able to do that with the Empire just now. So Slaanesh doesn't get as a huge bonus from that. And that also makes the spot that you place it very, very important. That will probably draw Khorne, though, because Khorne understands that's going to be very important for people getting victory points. So be careful of that. And here we are with the summoning phase. So Khorne's going to start off by placing a cultist in the Empire. First off, great move for putting in the Empire. It connects to a lot of different spots. It's a really good central location. You don't want to be off on the sides. But more importantly, he put a cultist there. Now, while it doesn't attack yet, it does give him a lot more information because his warriors, remember, cost 2 each and you have 7 energy. You can only summon 3 of them. You'll have that 1 left over. So right now, it's a good thing to put that there, see what they're doing, and then put out your warriors accordingly. And again, great, really spot in the Bretonnia or Empire would be great for this type of thing. And here's Nurgle placing their cultists in the Empire. Great reason to do so. You want those advancements. That's 7 victory points, which just has Nurgle's name all over it. So very standard opening for that. Now this is interesting. Temporal Stasis basically says to Khorne, I am not very appetizing. It's going to cost you a lot more. You're not going to get as many advancements, so you probably don't want to go after this spot. A lot of times this game is really can be won by kind of directing other people away, more so than directly confronting them. And Slaanesh puts a unit in the Empire as well. I can totally see why. That gives you a lot of victory points. It also gives him his advancement. He still has a lot of options. So this is interesting. Khorne is now kind of playing a gambit. He's playing down his Greater Demon, which can roll 4 die for 3 power, so very efficient. But the problem is the other units might move away. Like we're seeing right now, Nurgle's like, no, I'm not going to do that, so I'm just going to move cultists into there. So, not always the best move, but sometimes depending on the location, it might work out. Tzeentch puts another unit in Bretonnia. I think Tzeentch is pretty confident that he's going to be unmolested here. So I would imagine going forward in the rest of the round, Tzeentch is just going to keep putting down units in Bretonnia, cultist. Let's see what Slaanesh does. Slaanesh is, being very brave here and saying, no, we're going to keep going here. I'm going to keep putting dudes in the Empire because I want those victory points. I want the advancement. Advancements are great for Slaanesh. I mean, they're great for everyone, right? But they're really great for Slaanesh because with his short tractile, he just needs a couple, and he can very easily win by advancements. So I would be... Looks like there's cultists put down in the Border Princes. There could be a couple reasons for this. He doesn't really have a lot more energy for warriors at the moment. It could be to set up future turns. It's probably not the move I would have gone with, but it's not necessarily a bad move. Nurgle is, of course, filling up spots in Keslev. Looks like that's going to be the popular spot they go for. And then I imagine on later turns they're going to try to take the Empire back. All right. And Dazzle, very, very good move. What Dazzle's doing is it's preventing them from putting down the corruption. That's good for stopping the advancement. It hinders two people at one time. It's putting a magic spot there, and that's probably not why they're using it, but still really good for trying to stop that advancement. Ah, here we go. Field of Ecstasy. What that does is say, hey, no combat's happening here. This goes back into what I was saying earlier about the Greater Demon may not being the best choice there. You're kind of putting your eggs in one basket, all your eggs in one basket. Second turn, you're not going to really have a lot of information then to kind of react and really plan things out. A warrior's being put in Keslev. Should be enough, hopefully, to get a dial advancement for Khorne. Although not hopefully on Nurgle's part, but there you go. Let's put another cultist there. And another cultist, of course, with Tzeentch. But I really like that move, just to go into the Empire, kind of just be very brazen about it. He waited until after Nurgle had already kind of left and then played it. But he didn't want to wait too long because you need to make sure to get one of those cards placed. Khorne may have sensed that and perhaps like filled it up with one of his own, and then you're kind of in a bad position. All right, Keslev is being filled up with Nurgle's guys. He just wants the advancement. Make sure to get that victory points. So Tzeentch is putting Warp Shield. I feel like Tzeentch is probably doing that to in case Khorne decides, well, I can't get literally any advancements in the Empire, so I may as well go over. I don't think he has the power to do that, though. So I think that might have been a misplay on Tzeentch's part, or it could simply have been playing a card to get it out of your hand. Remember, you draw up to 5 with Tzeentch. So sometimes you can play something that's not really of your use, just so you can be like, okay, well, I'll have more options later. Slaanesh is just filling up the Empire. There's no reason not to at this point. He needs those advancements, which he's gonna get. There's nothing stopping him at this point. Good call on Nurgle's part by putting that card. You know that with those 2 dice, there's a chance they could explode, so you want to make sure that you get at least some points. I'd strongly recommend Nurgle, if is giving instructions in game at the moment, that I would try to go capture the Empire from Slaanesh, if at all possible. All right, and Tzeentch puts down a cultist as their last action. Let's see what happens in combat. And here we are with combat. Khorne will be rolling in Keslev with 2 dice, statistically speaking, likely to get a kill. Let's see what the dice say, and they agree with statistics. I would have suggested to Nurgle, put a couple of Plague Bearers in there. Not only are you rolling back and kind of preventing, possibly, Khorne from rolling in the future without spending more power, you also don't corrupt as fast, giving you those domination points. A lot of his cards act toward that and make it easier, and it's just something he's really good at, since advancement's not going to be a win condition for Nurgle, unless everyone else is, really, really dumb. Okay, let's go with the corruption. And here's corruption phase. I've always viewed the more important dynamic parts of the game, the summoning phase, combat phase, and corruption, as almost like farming in a way. That sounds weird, right? Let me explain. Summoning is like planting your crops, adding fertilizer. It's you adjusting the surroundings to give the most benefit for you. Combat is, on the other hand, the environment kind of reacting to you, and it's like bad weather, rodents, that sort of thing. It can ruin you potentially, no matter what your plans are. You can try to adjust for it, but it may still destroy you. And then corruption is where basically you harvest things. You see how well the fruits of your labor flourished. In this case, flourish being death, destruction, mayhem, and all the good stuff. All the stuff that the Chaos Powers enjoy. Now, regarding the board situation, I think that Khorne is in a great spot to kind of spread out. He has Slaanesh and Nurgle kind of held in check. The Greater Demon, Warrior, they can do some damage. But you want that multiple advancements. You want 3 advancements to try to make sure that you get the double advancement for that turn. And I think Tzeentch would be a great opportunity. None of that, but as is Corn, you want to hinder everyone else from accomplishing their goals. You probably not going to win until turn 4, but they can, with Ruination, get, win the game in like turn 3. So definitely want to hamper them. And the end phase. Obviously, the most important thing we do is remove the cards. A lot of decision there. But actually, I included that just because I thought it'd be a little weird for them to have them to suddenly disappear, a little off-putting. Whether you guys like it or not, just let me know in the comments below, and I can change that for future videos if we do Chaos again, which we probably will. So everyone gets an advancement in this one. Pretty boring. Corn gains victory points, which, super useful for him. I can only really think of a few scenarios where that matters, but with a advancement dial as long as his, you kind of don't want them to all be really useful. So I can understand why the designer did it. Now, the really the only interesting choice here is going to be Tzeentch. Now, he's going to get to place a warp stone. Now, his decision goes along 2 paths. Do I want convenience or do I want options? Options would be placing it where there's not a one. So in case you need to run away, let's say from Corn, you have more places to put down advancement. If you put it one that you've already done, like this, it gives you convenience. You don't need to play a card, and you can kind of just put those cultists there to invest in. Leaves your cards for other things. Here we are with the second Old World card. Let's see what's pulled. We have Plunged into Darkness. This gives you victory points for peasants killed. Peasants have not been killed, so this card does absolutely nothing. That'll happen sometimes. And that's fine, because if every card changed the game all the time, it would be a constant struggle to try to figure out what's going on. So, that's fine. So, but pretty much irrelevant for the most part. And here we are with the second summoning phase. So, Slaanesh and Tzeentch have done pretty well this turn. Slaanesh has gotten the most amount of victory points, so that's good. And here we are with Corn's first move. So, Cultist down and Keslev. Why would he do that? So, one, as before, doing so gives him more time to kind of analyze the situation and see where people are going. People are not just going to ignore the fact that Corn is around. They're going to try to get away from him whenever possible. So putting the cultists down allows, again, to utilize that one extra power you have, and then you have your warriors. So that's what that is doing. Would I have necessarily done myself? Probably not. I would have jumped in to fight Tzeentch, because I don't think Tzeentch is going to move anywhere. And Nurgle puts down his Greater Demon. So what that is Nurgle saying to Corn, I am tired of you being here. You are mistreating me, and I will not put up with it any longer by throwing down a huge dude. All right, Drain Power. Excellent. I really like Drain Power. The reasoning why is that it provides you 3 benefits. It gets you a point of power, so now you're at 7. It drains power from them, so it limits their abilities to do things. And it gives you time before you need to start investing energy to decide what the board state is, right? Yep, Field of Ecstasy. So that's highly unlikely that they had it in their hand, the second one in the hand. So that's frustrating for Corn. And let's see what Corn responds to that. Corn is going to put this either with Tzeentch or Keslev. Let's see. I think they're putting it in Keslev, which I'm going to be honest, I don't think is the best call. I would have put that with Tzeentch. My reasoning why is you're already probably going to get an advancement with another warrior. Use those 4 and try to open up more advancement opportunities. With Corn, you don't care about killing a lot of people in one spot. You want a lot of people throughout the world. And that may seem weird, but again, it goes into your dial advancements, right? You need to make sure to get a lot of separate battles and get those kills. So it can simply be just 1 success, 1 kill. That's the same as wiping out a spot. And in some ways, I'd say it's better than wiping out a spot. If you wipe out a spot, then they're not there the next turn. And that's more movement you then have to do to go find someone, whereas, the first time they'd be right there. So I really don't know if I would have done that personally. And there you go, temporal stasis. So that is blocking off Khorne from jumping in there easily. Tzeentch is playing a really smart game. It's all about the misdirection, pushing away rather than the direct confrontation. So if Tzeentch is smart, moves like that would be the best thing she wants to keep doing. Just, you don't want to mess with me. If someone comes in there, if Khorne comes in there and says, hey, I want some of this, you teleport them away. You just make it kind of annoying. Slaanesh has their own way of doing that with their cultist. So cool. Slaanesh is interesting enough playing like Nurgle right now because they have cultists in there for the advancement, right? But they're also putting warriors down there. Why is that important? Warriors help toward domination, but they don't corrupt. While corrupting is good in a sense because it'll give you ruination, it'll give you advancements, it also makes the spot worthless after that point. So you don't want to corrupt too long, especially a spot that's giving you like 7 victory points per domination. So I can see why he's putting down those warriors. Okay, so Khorne put down the card that does 2 attack in the beginning of the round. And now Nurgle's responding with Rain of Pus, just increasing that defensiveness. So that's a lot of just damage is going to be coming at Nurgle, and Nurgle wants to be prepared for it. So right now, the Plague Bearers or Cultists will have 2 armor, and the Greater Demon will have 4, I believe. So that's a lot of kills to assign. So I'm pretty sure Nurgle will still have some units after this. It's will they be able to advance after this will be the issue, or will they dominate? Because, I mean, yay, you'll have 1 survive maybe, but 1 or 2 survive. But is that enough to dominate? Right now, that wouldn't be. So that's a concern. Okay, so Tzeentch has played Persistence of Change. This is telegraphing what their plan is. This shows that, hey, I put 2 symbols in there. I got a magic symbol and I got a warp stone. That'll give me an advancement if I go there. You wouldn't play that card for no reason, right? So Tzeentch is most likely going to start putting cultists there. The reason they feel safe to do so is because Khorne needs to move 2 spaces to get into there. They don't want to move into Bretonnia to make it a quick jump, so it's reasonably safe, kind of like Norska. Slaanesh puts down Insidious Lies, which is basically just ways of getting victory points. I think it's really good for also making domination bump, or as in no one gets the points, especially in spots where maybe you double advanced and someone took your... maybe someone doubled up on tokens, and then let's say Nurgle's taking that spot, like I mentioned earlier, and you're like, okay, well, I'm also going to put this here, and then maybe I get like 5 domination points, and you have to spend a lot in order to get it, and I maybe just need to put in a couple warriors, and we bump. So that's a really good way to kind of spend it, to negate someone, but not like lose, not invest a lot of energy. And here's Tzeentch just putting units in Estalia, like we said before, just getting that, just taking advantage of the fact that they're relatively left alone right now. This is something Khorne needs to address the next turn. I think, in a sense, they kind of got tunnel vision. I think they saw the fact that they're going to have combat, so they're putting more units in there to reinforce that, which sounds logical, sounds like a great idea, but it's not, because again, you want those multiple combats over multiple areas. So, Meddling Escapin was placed in Estalia. Huh. I can only imagine because they wanted to get rid of cards to drop to 5. Because, there you go, a better play. Yeah, that's why I wouldn't generally put a cultist just in the middle of nowhere. But, yeah, so Khorne will have to discard 2. Alright, let's see how the combat phase will go. Here we are with our second combat phase. Now we have Khorne and Nurgle about to smash faces. Khorne has brought his A game, his entire army, well, almost his entire army, right where Nurgle is. Okay, and we get 1 kill there. Now remember, because he played Rain of Pus, that's not going to actually kill anything. but it does combine with his further attacks, which I think 8 dice means he should get at least one more kill on there. Or, he has the worst luck in the world. Alright, let's see what rolls. And that's obviously not the case because that's 3 successes right there. So a total of 4 right now. Let's roll it again. And 2 exploding dice, so that's 2 more successes for a total of 6. And nothing more. Okay, so 6. So he can kill the big dude and a cultist, for example. Or he could kill all the cultists. He could... That's about it, actually. Personally, I almost always will go for cultists because that hinders your opponents. And for that, in this situation, it'll stop them from getting their domination. So that's the route I would go. But in other situations, it might be worth it to actually go for the bigger guys because you won't always get those huge rolls. And the greater demons can be a taxation. Not just Khorne's greater demon is dangerous. The Nurgle one rolls 3 and 3. Like right now, he's rolling 3 dice each. Or I'm sorry, 3 dice and he got 3 successes. So that's one of those things where in the future, that spot's going to remain dangerous because of that. But again, I think the cultists were the best choice. Now, who should Nurgle kill? The greater demon costs 3 and gives him 4. The 2 demons cost 4 and give him 4. So I would kill the greater demons because it's a greater cost setback for Khorne. However, again, you may not get that many successes in the future. So mayhaps you want to focus on killing the greater one. It's just what your future plans are. Do you want to do a lot of plague bearers versus cultists? That sort of thing. Neither one made a bad call, though. So good for them. All right, let's go to corruption. And corruption phase. This is where we get our fruits of our labors. So Slaanesh gets his 2 victory points from putting that card down. Excellent play. Nurgle is not going to get either domination or dial advancements. As I said before, he really needs that upgrade. And the timing right now of not getting that, what might happen here is spots may ruin before he gets that, and that's bad. It's not end of the world, but combine that with his board position, it's not looking good for Nurgle, and that's what'll happen sometimes. So Slaanesh gets his 7 points. Good for him, doing well, excellent. Tzeentch is getting the 3 and then the 4, so getting up to 10. Now he may seem pretty far behind, right? But he's not actually that worse of a position. So look at it this way. Slaanesh is going to keep getting those 7. But once that spot ruins, and you need 12 corruption to do so, that you can't dominate that spot anymore. You're not going to get any more advancements out of that. So he then needs to spread out. Where is he going to spread out to? He either goes to try to go through Khorne and Nurgle to get the spots over there with noble tokens, or he goes up to fight Tzeentch. And neither one of those are very attractive, right? And Tzeentch doesn't have any noble tokens for him to get advancements on. Tzeentch, on the other hand, has 2 spots he can gain advancements on. Both of those spots have some pretty decent victory points, right? So that's 7 victory points in total. That's what he's getting there. And so he is going to be, but he also has 2 spots he's going to have ruin and have a large percentage of the corruption. Bretonnia already has 8 corruption down, and they're putting that down now. Plus those 2 warpstones, so only 2 more spots until that area pops. Again, that really sucks for Nurgle. But then that Estalia on the top, that's giving him more time to actually get those victory points to dominate, right? So Tzeentch and Slaanesh are doing very well right now. So I'm very curious to see how the future rounds will go. And end phase, here we go. So, very, very interesting last phase. Pretty much just cementing Tzeentch and Slaanesh's lead. Khorne and Nurgle are struggling to get ahead, but you know, they're not out of it. Khorne again can definitely get up there. So let's see what upgrades get. Khorne probably getting the Acolyte one. And yes, he does. And yeah, so that's just basically gives a cultist 1 attack. Really useful for him. More chances to get those advancements that he needs. Zinch gets Acolyte. Allows him to move Warp Stones. That's really cool. Like, no doubt. And Slaanesh gets, hey, I don't want to be hit. Makes him less attractive to Khorne. Alright, let's see what the next phase is. And the Old World phase. Let's see what pops up. This is Divine Inspiration. Basically, that bumps up a peasant to a hero. So, this is interesting. So, this card will normally be used to maybe make a spot less palatable for others. However, like, there's no area that's being used that this is applicable to. So, this would basically say to Slaanesh, hey, this is something you get a dial advancement from. Yes, you're less likely to, you're going to lose a unit, but you still get that advancement, which is pretty useful. Personally, I would probably recommend Norska. It's far away, so it can't really get to it, and it's taking care of that hero token already there. Badlands, Border Princes, whatever. But don't do Telia. There's 2 victory points there, so definitely don't want to do that. And it's putting an additional one out there. If you, so if you're going to do that, do it in Borderlands and Princesses, which looks like what's happening. So Borderlands. So yeah. So as I said before, Slaanesh really needs to, after this happens, to kind of come out. So now he can do that through Borderlands and maybe into Telia. We'll see. And here we are with the third summoning phase. Slaanesh and Tzeentch are in a great position due to their card play. Khorne kind of struggling, but not too bad. Nurgle really needs to bring himself out, try to take over Empire or another populous spot to really gather up those victory points that he desperately needs. Also get the dial advancement. Just he needs to push really a lot harder. So we have Battle Cry. This is a good one. So this will hinder in the fact that no advancements will be made in that spot, but it's also going to mean another turn with 7 victory points. And considering how Slaanesh is playing, that is not necessarily hindering him. He might not mind that. So what we could have here is Slaanesh just say, all right, well, I can't drop Corruption here. That's fine. I'm actually okay with that. I'll just hop down to the Border Princes, get some cultists, maybe 3 or so, drop them there, just to make sure I have enough in case Khorne decides to come, and drop the Corruption there, get the advancement, and then that hero will likely kill Khorne. I'm not sure in this specific example, but in a lot of cases, Khorne has the highest threat, so he needs to be very careful of those heroes. So this actually could work out just fine for Slaanesh. So, good on you, Slaanesh. He just needs to make sure to reinforce the Empire to be safe from. Plague Aura was good. I like that. I mentioned it before, but I like the fact that Nurgle is taking advantage of the fact that he got some tokens there, so he's going to capitalize on that, and then I'm assuming move his cultists somewhere else. So maybe move them to the Empire, and maybe going through Bretonia, Astalia. Like, you need to get in there and get those corruption, those advancement things down. He just needs one, because he is not going to be the one getting multiple advancements. It's just not going to happen. But just one will help him get toward his getting that upgrade. Good. So Khorne has finally put down some. He's going to put down some hurt on Tzeentch, and Tzeentch deserves it. Running around like he has, all skylarking about, not worrying about anything. It's time for the real world, Tzeentch. Real world, you get punched by Khorne. But yeah, so Khorne is doing what he needs to do. Just like Slaanesh, probably going to try to kill off some of those dudes who are going to dominate and try to stop those points. The reason why it's so important for him to be that hindering force is that advancement tokens and advancement wins happen at a very measured pace. It's 1 or 2 per turn. That's it. You can't really jump out. But with Ruin and Domination and things like that, you can really just jump out and get like an insane amount of points. 20, 30 points in a round, right? Depending on how things are set up. So since Khorne is generally not going to go for a victory point win, he needs to kind of slow everyone down. Astalia is being protected by a 3rd card. I'm amazed that
Zinch has these many cards. I am just wow. I think I remember the last time I played Zinch, I had like one or two of those at the most.
Definitely not as much as Zinch has had in this game. So Slaanesh puts a priest, or cultist, I should say, down in the Border Princesses. He can't get his advancement in the Empire, so he's going to do it that way. So what does that mean? It means he's going to bring either another cultist or... Well, no, he has to bring another cultist. He needs 2 corruption in order to get that advancement. So let's see him do that in the future. It's so funny the fact that he is playing how Nurgle generally plays. And it's working for him. It's totally working for him. He is getting his victory points by doing that. Okay. So throughout the game I've been saying, hey, Khorne, stop beating up on Nurgle. But this actually makes sense. Why? Because that Greater Demon has 3 armor. So I think on average you would need to roll 6 dice in order to kill him. Khorne's Greater General Demon thing. I sound so eloquent. Rolls 4 dice and the card will roll 2. Even though those 2 dice are pre-battle, they'll still add up with the other dice. So he has a 50-50 shot of killing him, which, is what he needs. So it's not overkill at this point, it's just enough kill, which is what Khorne needs to be doing. The persistence of change. So what's really interesting about this move is the fact that there's already 2 warp stones. So we know that the magic symbol wasn't played for that reason. He doesn't need that for the advancement. So it was played for the purpose of domination, getting those victory points, of maintaining it. Because remember, the cost of the card also counts toward domination points. So what I'm imagining has happened is that Tzeentch is going to throw down her Greater Demon, have that try to kill Khorne, and then, if doing so, keep that card around. Ooh, Sporific Musk. That was an interesting play. I like that. So, Slaanesh just took over that cultist. Now, the important thing is, and something people sometimes forget, in the timing structure for the end phase, cards are removed and then hero tokens happen. So, in this circumstance, assuming, and I don't recall the threat during this particular time, but assuming that Khorne has more threat than Slaanesh, which sometimes happens, that'll mean that he'll get the 2 Slaanesh tokens from controlling him. It'll go back to Khorne, and then it's immediately killed. The danger in this, though, is that you've now painted a far more interesting target for Khorne, because instead of 2 armored cultists, you have a cultist that is 1 armor and 1 attack. Slaanesh doesn't really care about attacking. Yeah, it's a bit of attacks, but you're also making yourself more of a target. So this is a gamble that he's played. Now up there, I'm seeing that Nurgle has played some units in Norska and Troll Country, some cultists. Maybe for domination purposes, maybe to try to get some ruinations happened, which is not a bad idea, but I would really think that you need at least some in the Empire, because you really need that first upgrade for most situations. So I would say probably 2 in there. I doubt Khorne is going to come after you. If at all possible, he is going to try to kill Slaanesh. So just go in there, get your upgrades, and then maybe try to ruin Norska and Troll Country. But are you going to ruin it before the game's over? Can you put enough cultists there? I don't know. That's a good question. Meddling Escaven. This is simply Tzeentch playing against Slaanesh, which makes sense, and just getting to discard cards. Since these 2 are in opposition with each other for the win, they're the ones in head, it makes sense that she would play that against him. So let's see what Khorne is playing. Blood Frenzy, 2 dice before combat, all that good stuff. So 4 dice in the area. Everyone there has only 1 armor, should be able to get a kill. That's Khorne doing what Khorne needs to do. Looks like Nurgle's placing a cultist up. I'm not sure why they're doing that. And we have Tzeentch placing their Greater Demon in Bretonnia. Now that's going to synergize well with the persistence of change, allowing that card to remain for the next turn. In one thing with Zinch is that he doesn't have a lot of units that are good at killing. He, more than anyone else, is really bad at the combat part. So, like, their soldiers are 1/2 for a 2 cost, and then the Greater Demon is like 3/2, where like Khorne's 4/3, Nurgle's 3/3, stuff like that. And I think Slanesh's is 3/4. So when it comes to combat, not the best for him to get into. Now we see that Khorne has placed their warrior down in the Border Princesses. Now what I really liked about this is he made sure to play his card first and then put his warrior in. Remember that you only get 2 slots for your cards. So you want to be very careful. A lot of times you want to have your more powerful effect be the second card that's played. Now obviously Zinch could do Changer of Ways before or after and negate it, but that 2 card restriction on land really needs to be considered when you're playing. I've had games before where I played this really cool thing. I don't remember the name of the spell, but it was the thing with Nurgle where you make his units explode for tokens. And someone played You Don't Put Down Corruption. I was just like, oh, that sucks. And it did. And it ended up costing me the game because I played it in the wrong order. I kind of just played the big thing out front, and then people could adapt to it. And combat phase. One of my favorite phases ever, right behind summoning. Okay, so we have a cultist fighting a bunch of other cultists. And a kill. That's going to be an advancement for Khorne. This is what he needs right now to kind of get back into the game. Take away that leading victory of Zinch and Slaanesh, who are going head to head. Too bad he's taking it out on Nurgle, but you know, blood for the blood god and all that stuff. Alright, so now we are fighting in Keslev. He's going to do his 2 pre-battle die. And looks like there's a kill there. So that kill is going to be, I guess, a cultist? I would suggest the Plague Bearer. Yep, and that's what they're doing. The reason why that's good is, again, pre-battle effects make it so that you kill them, they don't get to roll against you. Helpful for keeping your dudes around. And honestly, that cultist really not doing too much right now. And yeah, wow. All those successes. All right, well, that pretty much wipes out the everyone there. Of course, they do get to fight back, which I think they took them up a little abruptly. Our group has the tendency of doing that. Oh, they were killed. Take them off. So, Nurgle gets to roll. Eventually. Any day now. There you go. Maybe. Okay, a roll. And 3 successes. Yeah, not even going to bother re-rolling that because, again, 3 armor on the Daemon, you're fine. So, that area's just pretty much wiped out. Good times. That's what I like to see. I like to see combat. I like to see just casualties all over the place in a game. You should be taking units off. They're just staying there doing nothing. It's boring. Alright, so 1 cultist rolling against Slaanesh or Nurgle. Ooh, 2 successes. That exploding die goes to 2 successes. He can kill a Slaaneshi cultist. And oh my god, he can prevent him from dominating that spot. Wow, I expected him to put more units to do that, but the dice were in his favor. Slaanesh will now be lose that huge advantage he was having. So Zinch is really going to have to has an opportunity here now to just kind of take over that spot faster than I thought he would. All right, well, that's interesting. So yeah, looks like another event of our game, our little group taking a unit too quickly. So now Slaanesh's player is going to roll. He just needs 1 success. Just wipe out the meddling cult and nothing. Oh, Slaanesh. It's ironic that your warriors have performance issues. All right, so we have 1 final area for, 2 other areas for combat. So this one is in Bretonnia. This is the pre-combat. And yeah, that's a success. That takes out a cultist, so that's an advancement. Great for Khorne. Yeah, definitely Khorne's getting that double advancement. He doesn't kill anyone else, which is good for Zinch. Now Zinch is going to roll. Zinch really wants this kill, and it's not going to be a difficult one. Should get it. Not only just get him out of there, but also to block the, or to keep the card that they put down earlier, Persistence of Change, to keep that in effect. But unfortunately doesn't get it. No successes. Sorry, Zinch. For all your magic, you just can't roll well. Alright, so we have one final combat. This combat, as what we said before, was something that was likely to happen, or had a good chance of happening. And now, Slash really just is just begging for just a terrible roll here. And he just needs, desperately, because he's not getting any victory points. He's not getting any the corruption tokens down in Empire. And it doesn't matter. Because those were, yeah, GG, bro. So, yeah, it looks like he's going to actually try to kill both of them. Because there were the exploding dice, and yeah, there you go. And boom, it wipes out everyone. That's so unfortunate for Slaanesh. A whole turn just pretty much wasted. They planted the crops, but they just could not weather all the difficulties. Lol. And yeah, Slaanesh was able to kill the Khorne warrior back. So, fascinating stuff. Let's see what happens in the corruption phase. And here we are with the third corruption phase. So, Nurgle gets goes up to 8 victory points for dominating Norska. He's not going to get anything from Troll Country, but what as I pointed out before, he played Plague Aura, which allows him to use corruption tokens for domination purposes. Well played, because you didn't, as we demonstrated, he didn't know if he was going to keep those units or not. So it gives him a nice nest egg. Once Nurgle has infested a spot, he can kind of reliably get those domination points. And that's just part of how he plays, right? He is all about having a couple cultists in there to casually dominate, but he wants to get those victory points over and over and over and over again. That's why his Plague Bearers are 1 cost. He has a whole lot of them. He has cards like that, which really help toward domination purposes. He has a card that lowers the resistance of the spot, so that's good. And yeah, so Slaanesh has stayed absolutely still in terms of victory points, and Zinch is bumped up ahead. So yeah, he is now actually ahead of him, and in a much better position later on. So Slaanesh really needs to start considering what his game plan is right now. Slaanesh did get actually a point from the Border Princes. One thing I'll always say is that with the hero tokens and noble tokens, I'm always confusing them. I'll always look at a spot with a hero token and be like, oh, I should get 2 victory points. No. Or, oh, there's a noble token there. Oh, it's actually a hero, and we need to worry about if he dies or not. So, that's one thing. I wish they were a bit different in their graphic. Maybe like, I think a red or something similar. But yeah, so now we're putting down corruption. Zinch is really, really doing well. He is going to pop that spot. Not this turn, but next turn definitely is going to pop that spot in Bretonnia. So what he's going to start doing then is needs a transition. Khorne really wants to just get in there and just focus on him, just do as much damage in there as possible, wipe out as many of those guys as he can. If he has a no corruption token, this is the spot to play it, because since Zinch has that extra place to go to, he's fine with popping it. He has his exit strategy. So yeah, I would say Khorne really needs to go in there and just, you need those multiple advancements, right? There's no question of that. But you can get that in both Estalia and Bretonnia, and maybe like hit Nurgle a bit, but really should just stay away from Nurgle at this point and just focus on who's leading. That's really, again, the point of Khorne. He is not only there to kind of just casually tap them, but he's also there to restrain people who are doing really well. All right, let's go to end phase. And here we are with the end phase. So just doing some light housekeeping. Right now we're all about removing the cards, very orderly. So in this, per the corruption phase, only Zinch and Korn will be getting advancements. Korn will be getting 2, Zinch will be getting 1. Now, the question here is, how relevant is this? These are obviously going to help Korn win, right? But I think the next 2 aren't a very powerful ones. I think it's going to be a while until he gets his upgrade, at least 1 full round. And so let's see what he ends up getting. Yeah, 2 Chaos cards, which is helpful. And then victory points. So let's see what Zinch ends up getting. That's an upgrade. So Lord of Change, basically what that does is the 2 magic symbols, it makes it so that anywhere he is will automatically count toward his dial advancement criteria. Question is this necessary? Remember, the Acolyte, the first upgrade he got, allows the cultist to move around those warp stones. So that's already giving a huge amount of flexibility. Is this necessary for advancements? I can't say that it is. Maybe that there's another one there that gives you additional power per turn. Probably would have gone that route myself. But this may end up doing well for Zinch. So, can't say until you played the entire game. Alright, let's see what the next phase. And here we are with a brand new turn with our old world phase. Let's see what shows up. We have Peasant Uprising. This is not good news for Nurgle, Zinch, or Slaanesh. So this makes each spot more difficult to dominate. This is like a classically bad thing for Nurgle, because he will always want to dominate spots and gain victory points that way. Slaanesh and Zinch will sometimes be wanting to do that. Sometimes we'll go for advancements. And Khorne doesn't care, because this is actually great for Khorne. Because for Khorne, it's slowing down everyone else, which he already wants to do. So he can just like pepper away at them. He has less damage he needs to do to stop them from dominating. So this is a great play for Khorne. The funny thing is Peasant Token is already in Badlands, and it's not just the tokens that are put down, but it's all the ones that are on the board. So every spot is now a lot harder. And here we are with the 4th summoning phase. Let's see what Khorne pops down. The Skull Throne. So that's going to be his way of stopping Slaanesh from getting that last domination before the spot pops. It's a pretty good move. He'll just need to invest some figures in there, but no problem. Good. So Plague Touch. So what this does is, reduces the armor of the units. Now normally you would think, oh, we'll just play that where you want to kill someone. But no, he's playing a little cleverer than that. What he's doing is he's putting that down where Slaanesh is, a normally 2 armor unit, and saying, hey Khorne, these guys are a lot more palatable now. If you want to go take them down, you got to do so. Those 2 combined are a bad day for Slaanesh. One of the big things with this game is that you don't want to just improve yourself. You also need to dick over everyone else. Your Chaos Gods, it kind of goes with the territory. But if you don't do it, you're not going to win. Often. I mean, it's still possible. But you really hinder your chances. Alright, looks like Zinch is teleporting that warrior. She wasn't able to kill him with the Lord of Change, or whomever that greater demon is called. So she's just going to say, hey, I'm just going to teleport you out and not have to deal with you. That is a Zinch thing to do. Just, I don't want to have to deal with this mess. Here you go. Goodbye. So that is okay. The problem is that the cultist next to inside the Empire, I should say, next to Bretonnia, allows him to simply move it back. For 2 power, yes, so there's that tax there, but it's not the hard and fast prevention that I think Zinch really was hoping it could be. So... but Zinch is still in a good position. 2 spots right now are relatively monster free. Astalia is pretty empty. So let me see. Degenerate Royalty. Okay, so basically because of the corruption that Zinch already put, Slaanesh can put that down for the domination points, which tells us that it's highly likely Slanesh might go that way. I was saying before he needs to develop a plan. I'm not sure that's the best plan because that spot's going to pop, but maybe he's just trying to stop that domination points from Tzeentch. All right, and the God's Call. Wow. So you remember how I said Estalia is relatively safe? Well, that's not the case anymore. So those 4, looks like that's about 3 dice that are being rolled against 4 cultists. I would be very nervous as Tzeentch, but you really can't do much about that. You can't nullify a card's effect that's already happened. So for the most part, it's like, what can you do? So Tzeentch is going to have to be very careful on this. Maybe a Warp Shield? All right. So Nurgle is putting down a cultist in Keslev, trying to get that domination at some point, trying to get those corruption tokens down. Really needs that Preventer of Ruin. Okay, and another teleport. So that's a Tzeentch move to do. Just teleport him away, get him far away from you, and you don't need to deal with it. Again, Khorne can always move back, but it costs him more, and that means he can't go assaulting other people. So it's again the taxing effort in the game. Interesting. Slanesh has now put a unit into Bretonnia. So what does that say about Slanesh and what he wants? That says that he's trying to... The fact that it's a cultist means that he's probably trying to get that Ruination. Because right now, only Tzeentch has put Ruination down. You can put 1 or 2 down there. That means that you will get second place on Ruination, which is a lot of victory points. So that's a fantastic move for him. All right, Greater Demon is being put in Bretonnia. That is scary for everyone. So that's going to do a lot of dice and may or may not be able to help. Plague Aura, good. That allows Keslev to be dominated regardless of whatever else happens, unless Tzeentch decides to place the Changer of Ways there, which I don't think is going to happen. But Tzeentch has to be really concerned right now because that is a lot of pressure going on his 2 main areas. Both card slots are full, so pretty much he has to just tank it. She has to just tank it and just kind of deal with that. Weather the difficulties and see if your harvest is going to come to fruition. Slanesh is probably not as worried because Tzeentch is going to be the main target there. And he just needs like a couple of dudes in there to block off the domination. So, and his 2 armor makes him a lot less interesting target. So, yeah, Khorne is in a good spot. I'd say he's going to get probably 2, maybe a 3rd advancement if the current situation is set up. I don't see anyone else being able to do anything to stop that. So, what it looks like is that Khorne is probably going to get that double advancement again soon. Will that give him the game? Who's to say? All right, Meddling Skaven. This is played on where Khorne's unit is. What this is going to do is make him discard those cards. I kind of wonder what cards he has in his hand right now. I would say most of the pre-battle stuff has already been played. A lot of the No Corruption, I believe 2 have been played already, if I recall correctly. So I haven't seen any double battle. Sorry for not remembering the name of them, but basically you do an additional battle after the battle is commenced. So I'd say at least probably one of those is in there. Is that a great card? It depends on what units you have there. If you have a Greater Demon, you're fighting a bunch of cultists, great card. If you have a cultist fighting a bunch of warriors, not as much. Okay, and Slanesh puts a Greater Demon in the Empire, wanting to really hold that spot, make sure you get the domination, but also allow yourself to fight back against Khorne's intrusion. Because, while this happened last time, it's not likely that you'll get another kill directed at you with just that cultist, but you still want to get rid of it just in case. Let's see what else happens. Khorne is putting a dude in Keslev. Not surprised. Yeah. I would probably suggest putting that in the Empire instead. Another guy in Keslev. I would suggest putting that in the Empire. 3 advancements is more than enough to get that kill. And also those additional attacks. Ooh. Okay. Well, that was interesting. So what So he just moved and then moved the warp stone as well. Ooh. And then Slanesh just brought out the Keeper of Secrets and popped that down. So he really wants that domination, even if you have to pay a lot. So the cultist moved the warp stone over. That was interesting. So I think the idea behind that is he wants to make sure, or she wants to make sure that that zone pops. As I said before, it's kind of the idea behind the changer of ways, and it does allow a little more flexibility. So this is going to be interesting to see how flexible, how much kind of how many decisions that gives Zinch in terms of where should I move these? Should I maybe move them to a new area? Should I try to move them back and forth? Like, how should I maximize these cultists? Because again, Zinch gets 8 cultists, more than anyone else in the game. Korn only gets 4 and everyone else gets 6. So those cultists are a major part of his plan. And another cultist is put into the Empire. So that's not surprising. That when a spot ruins, everyone who put in a token that turn will get corruption. Oh, okay. So Slanesh has taken his dude out and put him right back in the Empire. I think what he's saying at this point is like, I'm not sure if I'm going to lose dudes, and I need to make sure that I have something for it. Honestly, I would say Slanesh probably should just leave your dudes in there. It's a slightly gamble, and Nurgle's following suit. Yeah, really good idea. I mean, you're for one dude, you're getting, I believe it'll be like 3 victory points. So that's a really great conversion. And that's really all games are in the end, right? It's resources and you're converting them to victory points. Whether that's through a Euro game with building up your own dudes, it's a war game. It could be chess as a resource. You have X amount of dudes and you need to go kill him. What's the fastest, most efficient way to do that? I guess it's really more expressed in games with victory points, but you get my point. All right, let's see what Zinch is doing. Zinch is moving a cultist back into Bretonia from Astalia. That's interesting. So really, that was done to just move the Warpstone? I kind of wonder the reasoning behind that. Nurgle takes their person out of Norska, puts it into Keslev. He really wants that dial advancement, which makes sense. He should. That's what he needs. So will that one cultist stop him? Maybe. There's 3 there, so you have to get an exploding die. I really don't see Korn investing more in there. So, I'm rooting for you, man, but that's pretty much what we have here. So I think pretty much everyone is out of energy except for Nurgle. So Nurgle's thinking, what am I going to do in that circumstance? Probably have enough advancement. And so it really just makes sense to punch him back. So imagine a Plague Bear is going to be played. And there you go. See how it works in combat. And here we are for combat. Korn is spread out all over the map. Let's see how he does well in Keslev. Yep, he gets 1 kill. So that's his first dial advancement. And he has plenty of room for more. Let's see if... Nope. Nurgle was not able to get that kill back. As always, Korn seems to be very lucky this game with the dice rolls. I wonder if it's because it's red. Maybe just red has this synergy or something. I don't know. On 40k, the orcs believe red makes you go faster. So maybe Korn just believes in this dice enough to make it roll well for him. So let's see how his cultist does in the Empire. And that's a kill. Yeah, so who is he going to choose? He chooses the warrior, and that's not a bad choice. It really was irrelevant at this point who he kills, because that spot's going to become useless in a second. But, I mean, if they did leave them by chance, anyone there, because it's not, it doesn't have enough energy to move him, then you definitely want to have less warriors than cultist. So, not a bad move there. All right. Korn is going to be attacking Bretonia. Rolling a bunch of dice. And nice. That is an exploding die. Another exploding die. And there you go. So he gets 3 kills on that. Well, gee, let me think on what he's going to do. He's obviously going to take out the 3 cultists. It stops the domination, and that also stops the advancement. So it pretty much just puts a huge hamper in Tzeentch's plans. So Tzeentch is rolling back, and 1 kill only. So not really much you can do with that. That's a 3 armor unit. So, yeah, Tzeentch is not really rolling well. I think it's one of those things where you kind of have to roll your wrist pretty... actually, yeah, she used it on a peasant. So that will make the resistance back to its normal level. But one thing I think with rolling dice is some people just kind of set them down. But notice Khorne is just throwing these dice. I think that's kind of useful when you're kind of playing this type of game. And Stalia, another cultist, is lost. So yeah, that's 4 advancements. So pretty much everyone just gets 1 advancement. All right, see you domination. And corruption phase. Nurgle starts off by going to 14 out of 50 victory points. He dominates the spot in Keslev. He did what Nurgle has to do. Lots of different units in a spot. Make it so that it's really difficult to knock you down. Remember, Nurgle has more units than anyone else, pound for pound. Or just numerically, I should say. He just has more. Slaanesh was able to get those victory points. Tzeentch was not, though. Both spots, Tzeentch was not able to. Bretonnia, she just has 1. And Estalia, that's 4 requirement, and also the peasant makes it 5. So, yeah, in a bad position on that. All right, so to clarify why our hand suddenly disappeared, after Slaanesh put down the points and obviously ruined area, he decided to pour all the tokens right on the spot. Figured you guys would want something a little more accurate to what occurs, so cut that little part out. It was funny as all heck. I mean, we all laughed really hard, but there was a funny sound and everything. It was great. But yeah, so Tzeentch is really in an interesting position. Not a bad one, but definitely not the very strong lead that came from Slaanesh's previous loss of domination points. Those 2 spots he has, or she has the ruination is going to go to her because of how many tokens to put down. And that is like 10, 20 points there. So, barring some unforeseen event, this is still heavily in Tzeentch's favor, even though they lost those points. So, while this is not at all a for sure game at this point, I feel Tzeentch is in a very strong position. Much more so than either Khorne or Nurgle. Slaanesh can still give her a run for her money, though. Alright, so let's play the Ruin card. Now, remember that each cultist put down corruption this turn. So each one is going to get 3 victory points each. And if you see on the top, it points it out. So Slaanesh goes to 30, Tzeentch goes to 23, Nurgle gains, is now at 17 out of 50, Khorne gains 11. So, that's really good. I mean, to put it in perspective, a lot of the smaller spots are 1 victory point, 2 victory point, 3 victory point. You're getting 3 and 4 victory points just by putting a corruption token down. So when you put it in that context, for 1 cultist to do that, it's a no-brainer. So good players are going to find those opportunities whenever they can. All right, let's go with end phase. Okay, now with the end phase. So this is going to be a bit more interesting than our previous matches, or previous end phases, I should say. The reason is because spots got ruined, so a whole bunch of points will be gained. Slaanesh here is gaining 40 out of his 50 needed points, while Khorne is gaining 15 out of 50. So the thing with Khorne, though, he likes that, but not because he wants the victory points himself, necessarily, and there's my arm, I apologize for that, but because he wants someone else not to get those points. Slowing people down, getting the points instead, that's all about him.
So let's see what the other spot is. So you'll notice that actually that's the second Ruination card. So the values go up. So anyone who put points in there gets 4. And Estalia normally would only give 9 on the first one. This one gives 10 and 5. So both Zinch and Korn got those points. So that's really good because there's just a lot of points toward this way. And those spots now can't be used. All right. So Korn gets the Blood Letters upgrade. It's basically all those dudes roll their dice pre-battle. And the Power of Blood, extra energy. Two solid upgrades. I may have gone with the Greater Demon, just because he's already there. This one, Nurgle removes 1 corruption token. This is one of those advancements that's not super useful, but it can be used on your own guys, on your own corruption tokens as Nurgle. Why would you do that? As before, domination is the name of Nurgle's game. He wants as many dudes there as possible. So, removing a... sorry, my phone is going off all of a sudden. Removing that corruption token gives you much longer if you plan it right. It basically negates the ruining effect of Cultist. So yeah. So that is actually a really good move on their part. So in this circumstance, it looks like Zinch is going to place 2 Warp Stones. Now in the beginning of the game, I mentioned that that this is 2 paths. This is, do I want more options or do I want security? And Slaanesh is going to place 2 Noble tokens. So that's good. So I mentioned in the game that there's 2 paths. At this point, it's not really so much about that. It's, can these help with Ruination, or can they give me another spot to maybe get those advancements from? Like, that's really what they're about. Because remember, they count toward the 12 Ruination markers you need. And there you go. Zinch wants that spot ruined. They need the points. Like, that's going to help push them over. So, that's how they're going to do it. They put those tokens there, and that's just one step closer. Because remember, Zinch is going to get the first priority on that, no matter what. There's no way you can do that, take that away. And it looks like Slaanesh is putting the nobility token in Bretonia, and the second one, Keslev. And those 2 spots, because of how Nurgle and Zinch have been operating, those spots are going to pop. So it looks like Slaanesh's strategy is going to be get in those spots, get the advancements, see what they do for me, and then try to just get in on that Ruination. Not sure it's going to do much for him necessarily, beyond maybe the points he'll get for contributing. And if I was him, I'd try to focus on one spot more than the other. Maybe Keslev. Try to go for Keslev. No, I'd say Bretonia, actually. Anyway, let's see what he... And now with the old world phase, let's see what pops up. So... Ooh...
That's dangerous. Okay, so what this does and says, hey, we're going to put tokens here,
and... Oh, Nurgle's deciding this one. And no combat can be rolled there. That's really, really bad for Khorne. Now, clarification. We actually played this part wrong. You cannot put old world tokens in anywhere that's ruined. So, we'll be putting it in the Empire right now. That's actually incorrect. So, mea culpa, just in your future games, make sure not to do that. But so no, it's Nurgle's choice now. So obviously he's going to put it in Keslev. This is going to allow the peaceful factions to just jump up in here, and pretty much Khorne is going to just say like, all right, well, I can't go there. I guess I'm going to have to go to Bretonia and just wipe everyone out and get an advancement. So let's see how that works for him.
And here we are for the 5th summoning phase. Khorne has not been having a great game. Was really shut out in the beginning, and now these old world cards are really preventing him from taking control of the game. He really needs to focus and try to hamper the other factions as much as possible. Killing cultists is really going to be his main focus right now. So, how should he go about this? Khorne doesn't just hamper with killing. That's the main way he does so, but he can also do with the card, the Skull Throne, that was shown earlier. And I don't think that was really used as effectively as it can be. So what you can do with that is, even though the spot you can't kill anyone there, you can still use your attack power to take away that domination. That will allow you to really hamper someone from getting those points. Now, will that be like the most effective plan right now? Consider, in Keslev, Nurgle will be dominating. Nurgle's not going to be not as high a chance of winning this game right now as Tzeentch or Slaanesh. Because a Slaanesh or a Tzeentch, that could hinder Tzeentch. He only has one guy there. But you're also killing there. So it's kind of putting all your eggs in one basket, which might need to do. It just might need something he needs to do. Now, Tzeentch tried to teleport, but it looks like instead they're going to be playing Warp Shield. Looks like they're going to be playing that in order to block off combat from killing off their Greater Demon. Not a bad move for 0 cost, especially. Oh god, I feel so bad for Khorne. Another Field of Ecstasy. So yeah, no combat is happening in any of the playable spots. But you might think, Mr. Boardgame, there's some units in Estalia over there. They can be killed. That spot's ruined. There's no reason for Tzeentch to keep his units there. They're going to be moved right out into Bretonnia. No question of that. Why give yourself just guys who can help advance Khorne's killing abilities? So Khorne's going to move those, or I'm sorry, Tzeentch is going to move those into Bretonnia. Nurgle and Slaanesh are going to try to build up their forces in the respective areas. Slaanesh needs to move out. Best thing I could suggest for Slaanesh right now, I don't know if there's going to be time to really build up another spot. Maybe instead just put, just like Nurgle's doing, just get guys in both spots. Have your cultists in both areas so you can take advantage of that extra corruption tokens. That might be what they need to do. Okay, so let's see what... Ooh, this is interesting. So, before I was saying, hey, Khorne could go in there and prevent it from popping. There's a way around that, which Tzeentch just demonstrated. This is kind of thinking outside the box. So, you need 12 corruption and or warp stones in order to make a spot pop. So, Tzeentch has like 8 or 9 corruption right now, right? So instead of adding more corruption, Tzeentch is just thinking in her head, I can just add warp stones and that'll make it pop as well. Yeah, I'm not necessarily adding corruption, but I've already have such a huge lead. There's no way that I'm going to be behind in this. And that's what they're doing. So that's a fantastic move. Just another reason why I really like that Acolyte card. Any card that gives you a lot of options is always something worth considering. Now, that's not always the case for Nurgle. Preventer of Ruin is always the upgrade you get. 3 victory points for every spot ruined, that's fantastic. But there's also one, I think, if you get the second upgrade, by any chance, if you're really lucky, there's one that allows your cultist to move for free into a spot that has no cultist of Nurgle. That's really good, not just for spreading out, but for doing that whole delaying action thing. And yeah, here we see Slaanesh and Nurgle are just kind of spreading out, wanting to get that VP. But that's really good for delaying and trying to make your decisions. And with Khorne and getting ready to just kill everyone in combat, and that those phases happening separately, having that last movement that Tzeentch almost always has, right? Having that ability as Nurgle is actually pretty nice. Again, Preventer of Ruin is what you'll always want to get because
12, 15 victory points. Could easily win you the game. All right, let's see what Nurgle is doing. Nurgle is throwing down a Greater Demon in Keslev. Not sure why that's happening. And Tzeentch is playing Changer of Ways. So basically that is there, I believe, to basically say, hey, I don't want weird stuff to happen. And perverse infiltration. So basically, the previous one was saying, hey, I don't want anything unexpected to happen. I want to, clinch this victory. Slaanesh playing perverse infiltration. I'm not sure why he played that. Maybe it's a delaying because it costs 0, but those effects don't come off. So, who knows? Warrior is played in Keslev, and I think this is just, hey, I'll just move that there. Maybe prepare for next turn, or try to do that at least if this isn't the last turn. Let's see. So yeah, I'm always a fan of going back to what I was saying about earlier about the upgrades, of just giving yourself a lot of options. So Tzeentch is moving their final person into Bretonia. So that spot's going to pop automatically. And let's see what else is going to happen. So the interesting thing about this is remember that there's an order to how things are placed. It goes from all the way toward the back to the front over here in Badlands, and Norska to Badlands, and there's like little arrows. The ruins happen in that order. So Tzeentch is actually going to get a better ruin because that spot, if that spot gets ruined this turn, which I'm almost positive it will be with the amount of units in there. So that's kind of interesting and something to consider when you're playing the game. It's, should I do this first or should I delay it? Is because remember that victory points, until you hit 50, it doesn't matter the difference if you can catch up. So that's something that's worth considering. Not always possible, and Khorne's breathing down your neck, but as we can see from this video, that doesn't always happen. I think what this is more than anything is karma for all those exploding dice. Khorne was just too good in the beginning. Like when you're Khorne, you're rolling really well. It's just a great feeling just to see a spot just empty, and you're like, yep, that was all me. Funny thing is, Khorne is almost like the good guy in this. You think what the other three are doing, they're really making these spots hell. Like they are just wrecking this place. Khorne doesn't care about that. Khorne doesn't care about ruining these spots. Khorne just wants to go kill the other powers. So it's kind of, when you think about it that way, you put it that way, it's almost like the holy warrior, except for he just wants blood. But anyway, so yep, Tzeentch is putting guys down in Keslev. Tzeentch also wants those points. Yeah, pretty much at this point, it's everyone recognizing the fact that it's going to be a ruination and taking advantage of it. Ruination is a huge part of this game. And when I first started playing, I didn't really understand that. And I think that's partly because it's face down. So it's not really in your face. It doesn't really show it to you. But those points, the 10, 5, whatever, and the points you get just for contributing, that can be like 30% of your victory points throughout the whole game, or not more. So it's really important to capitalize on those points whenever you can. That's the difference between a winner and loser in this game. Unless you're Khorne, then you just want to punch stuff. All right, corruption phase. And here we are with corruption phase. Corruption is the hallmark of this game. Lots of games have you killing stuff, like just summoning stuff, but not many games have you just destroying the moral fabric of today's society. So Nurgle and Khorne looks like they bump in Keslev, so no one gets domination points there. Womp womp. Tzeentch, however, remains relatively uncontested and takes the domination points, going to 41 out of 50. Doing really well. 1 point ahead. So that's good. And that noble token, that was kind of a gamble when Slaanesh put that in Bretonia, because that's an extra victory point at this part of the game. I could see that being the the very thing that keeps Slaanesh from winning the game. Maybe not 1 point, but still, you're helping your enemy and you didn't get much out of it. I would have liked to see Slaanesh. I don't know. I don't know what I would like to see Slaanesh do. But again, as before, made better plans and tried to get another spot. All right. So this spot in Keslev is ruined. Each one gets 4 victory points. So that's good. 4 victory points are nothing to sneeze at. So let's see what that balances up to. Tzeentch goes up to 45 points. Slaanesh gains 44, so they're neck and neck with each other. Nurgle gains the 26. Khorne is 24. It's funny that Khorne doesn't care about victory points, but he's like right there with Nurgle, who desperately cares about it. So there you go. Yeah, I really think this is Tzeentch's game. There's nothing I can see that can stop that from happening. But let's go through it just to see what the effects of it are. And by the way, one of my complaints about this game, and I don't have many about it, the board setup, like how the board was designed, like those spots on the very small parts, the Troll Country, your Keslev, and to a lesser degree your Norskas, not big enough for a lot of units that go in there. I kind of feel like maybe more room should have been dedicated to the map itself rather than the side areas. I mean, I'm just saying. Sure, we could have taken those old world card slots, shift them over just a little bit to the left, stretch everything out. I mean, it's can stretch. It would have been just fine. But yeah, going back to the game, it looks like Tzeentch got to the 50 mark, and Nurgle got to the 31, and Slaanesh to the 49. So now Slaanesh has some miracle thing they can do. Looks like this is in the game for Tzeentch. Let's tally it up. And here's our last end phase. Yeah, this was a really great game. Tzeentch really demonstrated how you can effectively just stop Khorne in his tracks. You make it expensive and you're going to push him towards someone else. Slaanesh did the same thing. Both of them really showed that Khorne, if they're not really looking at the long-term goals and just looking at that round's advancements, which is something a lot of us do. I still do that when I'm playing games sometimes. You can just funnel them right into the easy target, which is often Nurgle. And that's part, I think, of the balance of this game, and why I think this game is one of the best out there for an asymmetrical game of this type of just dudes attacking. Not really a war game, but guys on map, whatever it's called. Just because everyone plays so differently, but they play so well. You have Nurgle, who will just take these large, valuable spots and slowly rot them over time, just like a wasting disease. You have Khorne, who just goes through and smashing stuff, not caring about how it affects anything else in the world. He just wants his blood. You have Tzeentch, who's very tricky. You think you have him. You think you're about to grab him. And then he plays this, and your whole plan was ruined. And then you have Slaanesh, who is all about pleasure, getting those victory points, but he's all about pain too. He likes the heroes, putting those corruption on him, and he has extra armor because he's used to dealing with a lot of pain. All very thematic, all very fun. Just a fantastic game overall. Definitely one of my favorites. So that's the game, guys. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. If you have any comments about the show, good or bad, please feel free to include them below. If you have any ideas of games we should feature on Board Game Battles, also let me know about those. Always on the lookout for new games to include. Thank you again very much for your time, and I hope you guys learned something from the show. Take care.